Aerodynamics. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? But there's an even more beautiful phrase, flight dynamics. I used to be an airline pilot, and today I teach these subjects to young pilots. I think I can explain them without formulas and complicated scientific language. Well, not exactly. The terminology will still be there, but instead of being afraid of it, let's try to get on friendly terms with it. Let's start with one of the most famous terms in aviation, lift. Why is it called lift? Because it lifts an airplane into the air. Simple enough. But where does it come from? If you open a textbook, you'll probably find a beautiful explanation involving a special wing shape. A smooth curved upper surface, carefully designed to create lift. That's all very nice. But something bothered me when I first started studying aerodynamics. How do aerobatic airplanes fly upside down? How do fighter jets perform breathtaking maneuvers with wings that are often thin and almost perfectly symmetrical? Did they somehow miss that chapter in the textbook? Of course not. The real story is much more interesting. Any object moving through the air experiences aerodynamic forces, even a simple stool. Not a very good airplane, I admit. But aerodynamics doesn't care. Air pushes on everything. Scientists simply decided to sort those forces into categories. Part of the force acts backward and tries to slow the object down. That's drag. Another part acts in a different direction. Even our unfortunate flying stool will have a force component pointing upward. That's lift. Of course, on a real airplane, most of the lift comes from the wing. But here comes the first surprise. That beautiful piece of engineering, designed specifically to create lift, can actually produce no lift at all. What it cannot produce is zero drag. A wing can stop lifting. It can never stop resisting the air. And here's the funny part. The more lift you ask from a wing, the more drag you usually get in return. Nature is not very generous. This relationship is one of the most important ideas in aviation. Many people imagine an airplane racing down the runway while the wing is already busy lifting it into the sky. Not quite. During the takeoff roll, the pilot's first job is to accelerate, and the wing's first job is not to get in the way too much. The wing cuts through the air with relatively little resistance while the airplane gains speed. Then the really interesting part begins. A different science takes over, flight dynamics. This is the science that explains how we manipulate aerodynamic forces and engine thrust to make an airplane go not just where physics wants it to go, but where we want it to go. Now we've reached takeoff speed. The pilot pulls back on the control column or on an Airbus side stick. Either way, he pulls back. And what happens next? Most people would probably say, the wing creates lift. Not yet. Something else happens first. The elevator on the tail moves upward. Airflow strikes that surface and pushes the tail downward. And here comes one of aviation's little paradoxes. Before an airplane can go up, the tail has to go down. The pilot deliberately creates a downward aerodynamic force on the tail. That force lowers the tail, raises the nose, and creates an angle between the wing and the airflow. Pilots call it the angle of attack. Now, the wing finally begins doing what it was designed to do. Lift increases rapidly, and the airplane leaves the ground. That downward force on the tail doesn't disappear after takeoff. We carry it with us throughout the entire flight. On large airliners, the forces involved can be measured in tons. But there is always a price. Increase the angle of attack, and drag increases too. You don't need a degree in aerodynamics to understand that. Take a flatboard and hold it sideways in a strong wind. The result is obvious. Lots of resistance, not much elegance. As the angle continues to increase, the airflow over the upper surface becomes less smooth. More and more of it turns into turbulent, swirling air. Lift becomes less efficient. Drag rises dramatically. The angle where this process becomes critical is called the critical angle of attack. There is another detail people often forget. During takeoff, the engines are producing maximum thrust. As the aircraft rotates, that thrust is no longer acting purely forward. It begins contributing to the climb as well. And yes, the fuselage itself contributes some lift too when it meets the airflow at an angle. In reality, airplanes don't fly because of one magical force. They fly because many forces work together at exactly the right moment. And that's why I think flight dynamics is even more fascinating than aerodynamics. Next time, we'll talk about something equally interesting,